I'm Matt Sura, and welcome back to Advanced Real Estate Objection Handling, where I break down the common real estate agents, where I break down the common real estate objections from both buyers and sellers and help you guys rebuttal them using conversational selling techniques. Now, for those of you who are attending live, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hit this live. However, if you're catching this on the replay, or for those of you guys who are catching this live, you guys can catch the replay by going to my YouTube channel. And when you're there, subscribe to the channel to be notified of any new videos. I am ramping up the content both with these trainings and with future trainings for the 2021 year. The goal here is to help you guys become better salespeople, better real estate salespeople, and close more transactions. So I've been working on some things here, and in this training, I'm going to be going over and rebuttaling objections number 10 and 11 of the Mike Ferry 40 real estate objections using the conversational selling techniques. Now, for those of you that want access to Mike Ferry's original actual objection handlers, then just go to his website at mikeferry.com. It's in the resources section, and you can download a lot of things. I use Mike Ferry simply because, I've been in the business for 23 years, and 6 months into the business, I got into Mike Ferry coaching. And while there's a lot of things that have happened, a lot of technology advancements, a lot of different channels that are different that people are communicating on in this day and age, the reason why I promote the Mike Ferry's program is because he's very, very focused on skill development. My style is a little bit different. What I share with you guys, it's conversational selling, whereas these objections that you typically find, they're going to be very, very direct, very driver oriented. So I'm going to start off today talking to you guys about my ultimate rebuttal formula. Now, this ultimate rebuttal formula is something that I created over the time, over years, and it's 90% effective on any objection that you get. 90%. 10% of the time, you'll get something that comes sideways at you. But 90% of the time, if you follow this process, you'll be able to confidently and with clarity rebuttal any objection that you get. So number one is you acknowledge what it is that they just said. If somebody asks you a question, you acknowledge it. Typically, you could just repeat the last 3 words that they had just said. It's an active listening skill. Number two, you approve what they say. Not all the time, most of the time. And you do this by bundling in themselves into other groups. For example, most homeowners would do X, Y, and Z. Number three, you do what's called a softener. And a softener is just a lead into a question, because that's the next part, is the ask. So if you don't understand this, if this is your first time coming to one of my trainings, listening to one of my videos, it's going to make complete sense as I go through the actual objections. So let's go ahead and get started with the Mike Ferry out of number 10 objection of the Mike Ferry 40 real estate objections. And that is, you know what, Brett, I need to net this amount of money in order to move. I have to be at my new job in 90 days, but I can't afford to buy a new home if I take a loss. Okay, that's a legitimate concern. Now, do you think that this kind of objection will come up in this market right now? Of course it will. This objection comes up in any type of market. I need to net X amount of dollars in order to move because of what their motivation is. Now, as we look at this objection, what I want you guys to take really, really clear is I have to be at my new job in 90 days. That is their motivation. They just shared with you why they're moving. Chances are, if they didn't have to be at a new job in 90 days, or if they had a new job that was local in 90 days, they may not be selling their home. But with this objection, what they're saying is that, look, I need X amount of dollars because I need to be at my new job in 90 days, and I cannot afford to buy my new home if I take a loss. So let's break this down. Remember, we have the ultimate objection handler formula. So we're going to acknowledge what they say. And the way we're going to do that, we're just going to kind of repeat what they say. So, okay, you know what, Mr. and Miss Seller, I totally get it. You need to sell this home and maximize the proceeds in order to buy the next one. Okay, I acknowledged what they said by repeating what they said, but if you really notice what I said, I did what's called a level shift. I switched in, I need to net X amount of dollars, and I rephrased that into you want to maximize the sale of your home. Pretty much the same thing, but not really, right? They have a very specific number in their mind, and I switched that into maximizing the sales price of their home. And then I'm going to make them right. In fact, you know what, Mrs. Seller, in fact, most homeowners, regardless if they're buying a new home or not, want to sell their home for the most money and maximize their proceeds. Now, okay, so I acknowledged, and I approved. I batched them into other homeowners. I made them normal. I made them right. Now, if you don't mind me asking, that's my softener. That's like my go-to softener. If you don't mind me asking, while I have you on the phone, while we're talking here, those are all different types of softeners that just lead into a question. Now, if you don't mind me asking, what would you do if you didn't sell the house? Guys, that's a legitimate question. They're saying that they need to sell the home and get X. Now, most of the time that means it's going to be overpriced. If you're having this conversation with a seller and they're saying that, oh my gosh, I need to make X, it's either going to be it's overpriced, they want to list it for more than it's worth, or they're going to start hammering you on the commission. Maybe both. So the most logical question is, I totally get it. Let me kind of go back from the beginning. I totally get it. I get that you need to sell your home and maximize the value of your home. In fact, most homeowners, regardless if they're looking to buy or sell, want to maximize the value of their home. They want to sell it for the most money. Now, if you don't mind me asking, what would happen if you didn't sell this home? Now stop talking. Now you have to let them answer. You know what, Brett? Me not selling this home is not an option. I have to sell this home. Okay, I get that. Now I'm going to repeat it. I understand that you feel that it's not an option to sell your home, and yet, the market is what it is. So let me ask you this question. If you can't net the sales, if you can't get what you want, if you can't net the proceeds of what you want, what would you do? Would you just reject the job, stay where you're at, and just get a new job? Is that an option? Right? So guys, you notice that I have a different objection that I'm dealing with now. See, the original objection used to be I need to net this amount of money. Now I've changed it through my questioning and through my acknowledging that now we're talking about maximizing their price. And then I asked them, what would happen if you didn't sell this home? Not an option. Okay, I totally get that it's not an option. But if you couldn't do it, would you just not take the job? No. That is not an option. I have to be there in the next 90 days. Okay, so you've got to sell it for X amount of dollars, and you have to sell it, and you have to be in your job in the next 90 days. Okay, I did it. So Mr. Seller, do you know what's going on in the market right now? Well, what do you mean? Well, right now, if you don't mind me telling you, right now, your home is worth more money than in the history of forever. If you sold your home right now, even if you gave somebody what you perceive as a deal, you've sold it significantly more than years prior. Did you know that? No, I've seen things on the news, and I know that the market's hot. And so, but I didn't know that. Okay. So the reason why I ask you that question, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, is because there's a 100% probability that if we sold your home right now, not only are we going to maximize the sale of your home, we're going to sell it fast and ensure that you get to your job in the next 90 days. That's what you want, right? Yes. Okay. So the flip side of that coin is if we wait until next year, if you take the home off the market, which you said isn't an option, if you take the home off the market and we wait to sell it next year, or we list it overpriced and it languages on the market into next year. Some experts are saying that things are going to be fine, but other experts are saying, you know what, put on your seatbelt because the market's going to take a major shift and you don't want that to happen, right? No, I don't want that to happen. Yeah, because right now you have 100% probability that if you sell your home now, you're selling it fast and for top dollar. But if you wait, now you're taking a 50-50 gamble that you're going to start chasing the market down. If you need to net X amount of dollars and the market is what it is, can we agree on that? Yeah, the market is what it is. Okay, so then we need to sell it right now. If I came up with a way that showed you and you were comfortable and confident that I could sell your home for the most money, for the most amount of money in the least amount of time and the least amount of hassle and get you into your job within the next 90 days, would you list your home with me? Yeah, but I need X amount of dollars. Yes, I totally get that you need to, that you want to net X amount of dollars, but do you feel that your home is going to be 15% worth more than other homes on the market? Would you spend 15, 20% more when you go and act, when we sell this home and you go buy another one? Are you willing to go and look and spend money 15, 20% more than other homes for sale that are similar just because the seller wants to sell it? Well, no. Okay, so that seller is just like you. Okay, so I could go down the rabbit hole the whole time. The key here, guys, is when you get an objection, you need to rebuttal the objection and you need to work on through asking questions. You need to make sure that you're taking them down the path of rebuttaling that objection, or excuse me, not rebutting that objection, but making it acceptable to them. Remember, when I started out on this objection, he's like, look, I need to net this much money. And then through Q&A, through being the professional, through asking questions, I was able to turn it into, look, it's the market. There's 100% probability that you're going to sell this home. And now, guys, what you'll find if you're watching a lot of my videos and you're coming to a lot of my training, a lot of the rebuttals that I go to, the openings are different. The transitions are different, but the core rebuttals, the core closing statements, a lot of them are the same. And the rebuttals that I'm using, that I'm working with you guys on talking with sellers in your market are the same types of rebuttals. The strategies, the techniques, the models, they work the same way regardless of what you're selling. Regardless if you're recruiting someone, regardless if you're selling a car, they're all the same process. Sales is sales is sales, which is why practice is so hugely important. Okay, so that is how I would recommend that you guys rebuttal. I need to net this amount in order to move. I have to be at my new job in 90 days, but I can't afford to buy the new one if I take a loss. Now, let's move on to the Mike Ferry number 11 objection of Mike Ferry's 40 objections. Oops. If I have to sell it at that price, I'm just going to sell it myself. I'm sure that some of you guys have gotten that before. I know I've gotten that before, right? They're looking at it and they're talking to you and you're being honest with them and you're sharing with them what it is that based on the current market conditions, based on their current condition of their home, that their home will sell for in the realm of X amount of dollars. And what they're saying is, wow, you know, if I have to sell at that price, I'm just going to sell it myself. Now, here's where I would use a technique of just repeating what they say in the form of a question. And the tonality of what I'm going to say is like disbelief. Like, are you kidding me? That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Now, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to verbalize that, but that's going to be my tonality. Okay. So the seller comes at me and says, wow, if I have to sell it at that price, I'm just going to sell it myself. I'm going to pause. I'm like, okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that if you have to sell the home at fair market price, then you're just going to decide to sell it on your own. Now just pause. Now don't talk. A lot of people don't understand the value of the strategic pause. You have to understand communication to understand how pause is. Has there ever been a time when you're in a conversation with someone and there's that awkward silence and you're starting to think to yourself, is it my turn to talk? someone's going to talk. And the fact that you just asked the question means it's the other person's turn to talk. Now, if you come at them and say, repeat what they just said, they're going to take a second to process it. It's going to seem like an eternity, but it's not in their mind, right? They have to process how they're going to say this. And by doing this, what you're going to do is you're going to pull more information out of them. And in this scenario, let's say that, okay, so if you have to sell your home at market value, now I changed it, right? I switched it into a different objection. They said, if I have to sell at that price that I just shared with them. What I'm saying is, wait a second, let me make sure I understood what you just said. If you sell your home at market value, then you're just going to sell it on your own. And then they're going to say, yeah, I can't afford to sell it at that price and pay a commission. Now look what just happened. Now you have an entirely different objection that you need to rebuttal. And that's okay, because now we were at level 1 and we're moving down the path. If you just rebutted the first objection without asking questions like, I have to sell at this price, then I will sell it. What are you going to do? Say, okay. Is that all you're going to do? That's not sales. That's not professionalism. So what you would do is just repeat it in the phrase and form it as a question. Use your tonality to make sure that what they said is just like that's the craziest thing you've ever heard. And then they're going to come up with the objection. Now, in this scenario, they said, yeah, I can't afford to sell at that price and pay a commission. And then my response is, I'm going to follow the same rebuttal formula. Okay, so Mr. and Ms. Seller, I totally get it. I understand that you want to net the most money for the sale of your property. In fact, I've never come across a seller who wants to net the least amount on their property. But if you don't mind me asking, is selling the home on your own really something that you want to do? It's a legitimate question. Okay, so look what I did, guys. I did the rebuttal formula. I acknowledged, I made them right. I grouped them into making them right and that they're not crazy and they're not abnormal. I did a softener and I asked a question. Okay, Mr. Maselli, I totally get that you want to, I also did a level shift, right? They were talking about, I have to sell it at this price again, kind of like the last one. But what I did is they want to net the most proceeds. And the way that I made them right is by not making them wrong. So look, I have never come across a seller, anyone who wants to sell their home, who came to me and said, you know what, Brett, I want to sell my home for the least amount money possible. Never had that happen. Been doing this 23 years. Never had that conversation. I have had the conversation that I need to sell my home in the next 30 days. Those conversations I have had, and that's directly related to price. But we're going to stick with this objection. So I've never come across a seller who didn't want to sell their home for the most money. But if you don't mind me asking, is selling the home on your own really what you want to do? Well, no, not really. But if I have to sell at that price, then I could save on the commission if I sold it myself. Okay, guys, now look at that. We're on objection number 3 now. We started out on the one that we started with. We asked a question. Their answer turned it into another objection, and now we're on another objection. But if I could save on the commission. Now it's a save on the commission question. Okay, so do you feel that you would save on the commission? Okay, so you feel that you could save on the commission if you sold on your own. Well, yeah, okay, I totally get that. In fact, a lot of homeowners think that by selling their home on their own, we'll share them the commission. Excuse me. A lot of homeowners feel that if they sell their home on their own, they'll save on the commission until they take into the account not just the value of their time that it takes. You have a full-time job, right, Mr. Seller? Yes, I do. Okay. I don't know if you know this, but it's a full-time job trying to sell a home. So when a seller typically takes into account how much time or how valuable their time is, in addition to the extreme legal liability they have by selling it on their home, a lot of them realize that the amount of money that they're saving on their commission isn't necessarily worth it. Do you mind if I share with you why? Well, why? Okay, now guys, this is where I'm going to go into my standard rebuttal. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, Right now, your home will sell for the most money in recorded history forever. What your home is worth right now, what you could sell it for right now, is worth more than any time since you've owned it. Did you know that? No, I didn't. Okay. So you do want to net the most money. We established that. And you want to sell it in the least amount of time, right? You want to do it with less hassle. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So if we wait until next year, can you not sell this home? No, I need to sell this home. Okay, why is it that you need to sell this home again? Remember, I'm going for the motivation. In the last objection in number 10, it was a job transfer. So I'm going for the motivation. But now what I want to do is I want to start keying it up for a closing statement, right? So I would go through, look, your home is worth more now than it ever has been. So if you sell it at fair market price, even if you're giving a deal, chances are the bidding process in this market will bring it up a little bit more. But you got to market it correctly. You got to put time and effort into it. You've got to have somebody who knows what they're doing at the helm. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Do you know where the first point you would start when it comes to selling a home? No, I don't know the first point to start. Okay. Well, that's what I do. That's what I experienced in. But let's say that you try and sell it on your home and 30, 45, 60 days, 90 days goes past. And now not only have you had the debt service on it, but the amount of time that you have wasted, the amount of time that you've put into it, trying to figure it out on your own is now surpasses the amount that you would have just paid in a commission. Does that make sense to you? Well, yeah, that does make sense to me. Okay. So if I could show you a way that I can not only get you the most money for your home, sell it in the quickest amount of time, and do it in the least amount of hassle at a fair price, is that something that you would list your home with me for? Well, yeah, Brett, that's what I do. Okay, great. So the one thing that I want to point out when I go through these objection handling trainings is that the person who asks the questions controls the conversation, always. So as you practice your objection handlers, don't necessarily just practice the words, practice the scenarios in your head. Now, we're on objection number 11 of 40 objections over the next time. So it's going to be taking the next several weeks to actually get through these, but practice them. We're going to get the replay out, get with your role play partners, practice out these objections. You're not going to do it 100% the same way that I do it, but it's not about doing it the exact same way I do it. It's about learning the structure of the conversation and learning how to really kind of think on your toes. So that's all for today's objection handling training. Thank you for watching. Now, for those of you who are here live, or if you're catching the replay, get out there, have some conversations, rebuttal some objections, close some deals, and we'll catch you guys on the next video or the next training. Take care.